guys, good morning. So today I'm going to try to get the area underneath our weeping willow tree right here by the Hebe statue planted up. It's been empty for quite a long time. Last year I put some limelight hydrangeas in here, and then other than that we just have been mulching it and kind of waiting to put some plants in. Now I did try to do this earlier on in a video and I got rained out, so it's looking pretty good today, nice and sunny, but it's a really interesting spot in terms of light exposure. So let me turn the camera around and explain what I've got going on. So in this area, I'm dealing with both full sun, full shade, and part sun, part shade conditions, which is kind of fun and kind of difficult all at the same time. So the sun comes up over here, which means that this area right here, because there's a tree, is in the shade, but it's kind of dappled right here. This area from here to here is full sun all day long, and then this area from here over is in the shade in the morning and in the sun in the afternoon. You can see as I pan across the lawn, there is no tree. I'm kind of keeping this lawn open for Benjamin. I want him to have a big play area of grass, so I don't really want to plant a tree in here, which is okay. There's some really great sun-loving plants already in here. I thought I'd kind of go over them. So we've got limelight hydrangeas right here, planted those last year, and they're doing really well. This one I have treated with iron tone because it's showing a little bit of chlorosis. See how the veining looks a little bit darker, and then like the tissue in between is starting to yellow. That's usually a sign that they need a little bit of iron, which is typical in our area. We have that issue all the time. But that one's looking great. That one's looking great. I've got some Midnight Masquerade penstemon planted around the statue, which will start doing a lot better here. I just planted those last year. They'll start filling in now that I've actually got the willow trimmed up. Got a Winecraft black smoke bush. Look at how gorgeous this plant is. I actually really like the blooms on it. They're beautiful in flower arrangements, and I just think they're so interesting. The wonderful thing about this plant is that they only grow, like most smoke bushes grow huge, like they would take over this area, but that one will only grow, I think, 5 to 6 feet tall and wide, which is perfect, and it'll be a great spot of red. I've got a Fat Albert blue spruce right there for my blue evergreen texture. We've got an Arctic fire dogwood right there. There's a grass of some kind. I think it's a panicum. Cannot remember the name. We've got lemon jade sedum, Morden blush roses, which are looking really beautiful right now. Look at these. They're just an old-timey rose. I love the blushy pink color. Pink potion, no, not pink potion. These are Pink Profusion salvia, which they're just coming out of bloom right now. They are such a vibrant, beautiful pink. We've got a Tiny Wine 9-bark and then a mock orange that's in full bloom. Also, there's a hawthorn right there. And then I just transplanted these variegated iris from another flower bed into this area. And then there's a little potentia right there. And then there's just kind of a mishmash for the rest of the flower bed. I haven't actually planted any of these things myself. They were all here when we moved in, except for I did plant a Desert Plains pennisetum right here. So when I was thinking of adding new plants to this area, what I really wanted was some blocks of color in here, particularly for summertime. You know, I've got the salvia in there already, which will provide quite a bit of summer color. You know, it's going out of bloom now, but I'll shear it back about halfway and then it'll come back and bloom again. The lemon jade sedum will come out. That's a beautiful fall interest, but it also has some summer, like late summer blooms. What else? The roses are blooming now, and then they bloom sporadically again throughout the summer. So anyway, I just wanted to bring in some color, particularly underneath the canopy of the weeping willow. And the other thing about this area too is that the light changes based on how often I get out here and trim this willow, because I just did it and I love the shape of it right now, but I have to do that like every 3 weeks or so in order to keep the canopy up, which it doesn't bother me at all to do that. It's really easy, and I love my weeping willows, so it's kind of like a labor of love, I think. But I've got all of the plants that I'm going to be putting in this area, and I want to go through each one of them real quick. So here they all are grouped together. They always look so pretty when they're in piles like this, all the blooms all clustered together. And so I'm going to go through these here pretty quick. This is a type of phlox called Pinkadot. It grows about 22 to 26 inches tall, and this is going to be a second layer. So I'll have a front layer actually of the Supertunia Vesta Snowdrift, and this will be right behind it. They're a zone 4 through 8, so very winter hardy, and they also bloom all summer long, from early to late summer. Here is the tag. We will link all of these down below, like all of these plants. case you want to learn anything else about them. So second, of course, is the Supertunia Vista Snowdrift. Now these are the same as the ones that we planted out at my parents' house in their planters on their driveway, their new planters. These are going to be new for next year, so it's the first Vista that's got a color other than pink, like in the pink family, so I'm very excited. These grow huge, they're vigorous, so I'm excited just to test them in different areas in my landscape. So these will be in the ground. I've got some in containers, so we'll just be able to kind of learn a little bit about them this year. The next plant are these beautiful Velveteen Coleus. There's really nothing quite like Coleus to bring amazing color and texture. There's just so many gorgeous varieties. The good thing about this, though, anything in the Color Blaze series can take sun or shade. So I picked these on purpose because they will make the transition in our flower bed from that sunny spot to the shady spot, and they should do really well either way. And they grow like 24 to 34 inches. Yeah. And so they're going to be in front of the limelights. I think they're going to fill in beautifully. This next one I'm really excited for. This is a new one for next year, so keep your eyes open for this next season at the garden center. This one is called Firefly Peach Sky. It's a type of Achillea or yarrow, super tough native plant. They can take drought conditions, they can take bad soil, they also like full sun. So these I'm going to position toward the back of the bed right along our gravel driveway because I think they'll do really well in that sort of situation. So here's the tag. They grow about, what, 32 to 36 inches tall. They're also really winter hardy. Let's see, yep, zone 3 through 8, and they bloom all summer long. I did bring out one purple fountain grass because I have a little hole that I'm not sure what I want, and purple fountain grass is a really easy, inexpensive thing to pop in a landscape, just in a hole that you might have, and they're beautiful grass. Then I've got a Jubilee Celebration Rose. Check that out. Absolutely gorgeous. This is going to be sort of near the Winecraft Black Smoke Bush, so the color of that deep, you know, foliage along with these beautiful full-cupped roses, they come out like a little bit more, I don't know, they've got like an apricot note to them, and then just absolutely beautiful. And these grow 4 by 4, and they are a zone 5, which is what I garden in. Next one is this Brunnera called Jack of Diamonds. Isn't that beautiful? Like kind of caladium-esque, but tough perennial. I think it's a zone 3 through 8. Let's take a look. Yep, zone 3 through 8, and they do spread out quite wide. So see the spacing right there where it says minimum 28, maximum 32. Minimum and maximum means if you space them 28 inches apart, they will touch. If you don't want them to touch and you want them to be individual plants, then you would space them out 32 inches, just in case you've ever seen that and wondered. But these throw up the most beautiful forget-me-not looking flowers, these light blue flowers, and you can see these were just covered. They were covered in those flowers. They're just going out of bloom. They're a spring bloomer. But I use them more for foliage than anything else. And the last plant is this beautiful hosta called Diamond Lake. This one was thankfully inside my greenhouse when the hailstorm came through, so it didn't suffer any of the damage that my other hostas suffered, which is sad, but you know, we move on. That's how gardening is. Here's the tag. So these grow, how big? I can't remember. 17 inches tall, and they spread out 45 inches, which is nuts. Like that is a crazy huge hosta, so I only need one in this area. Okay, so now I'm gonna place all of these in the flower bed, and then I'll stop and give you guys a little tour just to show you how I'm placing them all before they actually go in the ground. Here's the whole area. The first Brunnera is going to start there, and then everything just kind of swoops that way. Now, like I said, the sun moves in this flower bed as it kind of gets over the willow tree, so the front part of this will be in more sun for the afternoon, for the hot part of the day. The only one that I'm questioning is this right here, so we'll have to see how this one does, if that gets enough sun. But I think that everything's gonna do really well. So let's start on the right hand side here. So let's start in the back of the flower bed and work our way forward. So we've got the Firefly Peach Sky sitting right here up against the driveway side of the flower bed. And that yarrow can take the heat from that as well as the full sun that it'll get right here. And I thought that the peach color blooms would be especially pretty up against the foliage of my smoke bush right here. I mean, just look at those. I can't wait to see these fill in. And then moving back, I did put the purple fountain grass right in here, which it'll get more sun throughout the day. But that's just kind of a space filler for now, just because I can't decide exactly what I want there. I've got to kind of watch the light as well. So next layer is the Pinkadot Phlox, which I think is going to be beautiful. I did a pretty good size drift of that, just because if you do one or two things in a flower bed that's, you know, this size or larger, it's really easy to kind of lose the plant. So if you do a larger drift, then you can really see it. It really makes a statement. And then the Midnight Masquerade penstemon should grow up. See how it's taller there? And once that fills in, we'll have a beautiful backdrop of darker colored foliage. As you can see, look at the foliage on that. Gorgeous, blooms, gorgeous. Oh, I love it. Love it all. And then the last layer is the Vista Snowdrift right here, and that will definitely light up the area. We've got a big drift of Velveteen Coleus. We'll have the red kind of mid-size height, and then we'll have the limelights behind, the snowdrifts in front. And then as we swing toward the walkway here, I'm going to tuck the hosta in right back here, because this is probably the most amount of light this spot's going to get. Just very, very filtered, shadier toward the latter part of the day. So the hosta should do great in here and just fill in this area with something bold. See how it needed it? See all of the green foliage right here? And nothing's got a really bold leaf. So I figured that tucking a really bold hosta in there would be pretty. And then we've got a nice little kind of almost hedge of Brunnera. I'm going to be trimming up. I've got a snowball bush right here. So I'll trim that up, kind of clean up this area a little bit, and then get my Brunnera planted. So my neighbor just started mowing his lawn. So I don't know if you guys can hear that. It seems kind of loud to me, but you know, it's a good morning to get garden stuff done. So I like to mix both annuals and perennials in my flower beds, just because there's nothing like annuals to bring in a huge amount of color and a huge performance throughout the season. You know, your perennials, it's nice to have those because they come back every year and you're, you know, not killing the budget every year with a ton of annuals. And this is quite a number of annuals, and there's a couple reasons why I did that. One, because I probably will be tucking annuals in, but I don't want to have to do this many every year. What I wanted to do is figure out the light, figure out how my Snowdrift Supertunias did and the Coleus, and I'll kind of be able to base my decision on what perennials I want based on how these do with what they get throughout the season in terms of light. So anyway, what I'm going to do is get all of these planted. I'm going to be using Biotone starter fertilizer for the perennials, and then my slow release fertilizer, I always like to toss a little bit of that into the holes of the annuals. And then we will take a look at everything. I'm gonna likely have to touch up my mulch in this area. I could see some drip tubing kind of popping up through the mulch. That's the other thing. This whole area has drip irrigation run to it. So I'm good to go there. I just have to get everything planted and get it kind of all tidied up. And then we will do a tour and I'll talk about just some ongoing maintenance with these plants. So I do already have a couple of plants in the ground, but I wanted to stop really quick and address the fact that I do have tulips in this area, and I almost forgot to talk about it. So I planted a bunch of white tulips, and they were beautiful this spring. I planted them last fall. I typically like to wait to plant all of my tulips until I have my shrubs and perennials in place. That way I can kind of plant around things instead of disrupting everything, because I'm going to be digging around where I have the tulip bulbs. So I just kind of wanted to talk about how I'm going to do that. So you can see when you come in and look closely that I did leave a little stump, like a little stalk from each one of the tulip bulbs, so I can kind of see where they're at. But they are all throughout this whole area. So I'm going to be digging some of them up inevitably. So what I'm going to do, I have this can here, empty can. Every one of the tulips that I dig up, I'm going to put in this can, and at the very end, I'm going to replant them. And because I can see where their stalks are, I can avoid most of them, because there is, you know, there are some inches between tulip bulbs. So especially when I get ready to plant the annuals that are in 4-inch cans, I can pretty much like sidestep all of the tulip bulbs, and I won't be digging up any right there. But where I'm planting these bigger gallon-sized perennials, I will probably dig up a few. So it does cause just a little bit of extra work, but the tulip bulbs will not be hurting because of it. I'll just replant them in the ground and everything should be fine. Benjamin came out and joined me for the planting part. He loves to play with the plant cans. Huh, buddy? You like to stack them. It's a good job for you. have not touched up the mulch yet, but I did get everything watered in, and I am starting to lose my voice. So I apologize for the raspiness. I don't know what's going on. I feel fine. Maybe there's some kind of allergen in the air right now. But let me turn the camera around and show you what we've got. So here's a backed up view, so much more full. It's very pretty, I think, and so much brighter. Isn't it crazy how much the sun has moved? So it started here, and then it slowly crept its way along the front of this flower bed to where I think all the Supertunias are gonna do great. It'll be interesting to see how the Velveteen Coleus does, just because half of it looks to be in the full sun, half is in shade, so we'll see what kind of growth rate we get from that. And then this area right here is kind of interesting. I assessed the light before I had really trimmed the willow up pretty hard, and the branches were a lot longer and they were casting more shade, but they just came into sun, and it doesn't look like they're going to be in it long before the sun goes behind the gazebo, so they might be all right. So we're just going to wait on that. We'll keep our eye on it. And then you can see the Pinkadot Phlox is looking beautiful, and just imagine that all established and in more of a thick drift. I think it has kind of a sparkly look to it. And then once that Penstemon also fills in back behind and it's a taller layer of dark foliage, I think that will be beautiful. We've got the Jubilee Celebration, which just shows up so well in here. And as I was planting and putting the purple fountain grass back in here, I realized that I do have room either for 2 more Jubilees, so I could put one like right in here and then one right about where the grass is, or I could go get some kind of like a architectural, like tightly clipped boxwood of some kind to put in this area, maybe for a little bit more winter interest. And then back in the very back part of the flower bed, you can see the yarrow looking very pretty. I just love the color of those blooms, and I can't wait to see those fill in, because I think that those are going to be perfect for that spot because it stays so hot because of all the gravel. So I wanted to talk really quickly about spacing. These Coleus are spaced pretty much how they should be spaced because they do get big. It takes them a little bit, but they do get to be a pretty good sized plant. These Supertunias are vistas. Now, I may have planted these way too close together. I mean, it's not going to hurt them that they're planted close, but I don't think it was maybe necessary to plant as many as I did, even though it looks really pretty. I had a few extra that I popped over here, and I spaced them a lot further apart. This is probably the guide you should go by, not this one over here. Too close. Proper. So that's pretty much it for this project. I did end up digging up about 25 tulips in the whole process, which I feel like is a really good amount. Like, it's a super low amount based on like how many tulip bulbs are actually in here and how many plants I just put in the ground. I figured I was going to be digging up a lot more, and I only damaged about 3 or 4 tulip bulbs, which is really good. Like, I nicked them on accident. So those, I still planted them. I don't know if they'll probably rot, but you never know. They might heal over, they might come up. But I planted the 25 that were good. Like, further down the flower bed, I just went and dug up about 6 inches of soil in 3 different spots and planted like a grouping of them. So those should be fine, and that's just what you have to do. If you kind of get the cart before the horse and put your tulip bulbs in before you have your established plantings, then you just kind of have to shift them around. And I don't mind doing it, and I enjoyed the tulips so much, and they're all looking really healthy. Like, it looks like they like are starting to naturalize, because the ones I did pop out of the ground had like 2 or 3 extra little bulbs next to the actual bulb I planted. So that means we may even have thicker tulips next year, which is awesome. So anyway, I hope you just enjoyed seeing this area come together finally. It's just been sitting here kind of empty for a couple of years. I enjoyed it. I always enjoy seeing like something kind of button up and look like, I don't know, like I can start enjoying watching the plants grow instead of like fretting over what I need to put in that empty spot. So anyway, I think I'm gonna go and rest my voice. We will see you in the next video. Bye.